Hello and welcome. This is the Pat Podcast. It's a brand new week. I believe it's episode 11. Last week, you may have noticed a weird little edit at the beginning where it's like, this is episode... It's because I called it episode 7, even though it's past episode 10. That should give you an idea of how busy it's been this week. You may have noticed a slight difference in quality of video this week. I'm trying my best to make it look as best as I can for you guys. Hopefully the audio's not that bad, but, I'm doing the best I can. And I'm also trying to realize that the focus, the person I'm looking at, is here. So, hi! It's nice to see you. If this is the first time you've been to the Pat Podcast, maybe consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the little bell. That seems a little bit pretentious for someone with a YouTube channel that doesn't have many subscribers. So, I think you should fix that also and subscribe to the channel. That would help things work out for me. This week has been nothing but a fun endeavor for me. This is my venting session, remember? This is what I do to vent. Hopefully you get something out of it, but this is what I've tried to discover. Having the second kid, oh God, he's talking about the kids again. He's talking about his kids again. I don't mean to talk about my kids again. It's just that it's the most relevant to me, but I'll move past that in a little bit and let you know why the image quality is a little bit better. Every night is a fun adventure. There are new things to be had. Personally, I love getting the 8 to 5 sleep. Poor wife. She loves getting 8 to 5 sleep. But that's been disrupted for the both of us. Why? Because there's a new baby involved. And that new baby is important enough to us to make sure that, our beloved sleep is, dismembered, right? That's what happens. You don't sleep anymore. There's no such thing as sleep. If there is, there's 2-hour increments of maybe passing out, waking up, and getting the baby fed. But what's most important to me is relearning what it is to be a parent. Because if you think about the principles of becoming a parent, it actually is very educational to what it takes to succeed on something like YouTube or Twitter or on life, I'm lucky that for me, this is just a hobby and it's not really my 100%, all eggs in one basket sort of thing. It's just something I like to do because I think this is a fun medium. I like being able to exchange thoughts. I like having an opportunity where I can sit back, talk to some fun friends, and have a sip of rum. Why not? What I think about being a parent is that it teaches you so many different things. Is whether or not you like it, you're responsible for something extraordinarily important that you created. Just like a video series, a blog, Instagram account, apparently that's a thing, friendships, relationships, obligations, your job. These are things that are extraordinarily important in today's world that many people just kind of throw away because they don't want to believe that they've given their entire self to, their self-respect to. And what I mean by that is that most people, they'll go into a job, let's say they work at a convenience store. They are, supplying the great old, supply and demand. But then they may say, oh, this is not where I'm best at. Oh, this is not where I'm supposed to be. So I'm just going to kind of half-ass it. And I'm going to kind of do the best I can. And then you get a paycheck. And for some people, that's enough. But then ironically, those are the same people that wonder, why am I not getting anywhere? Why am I stuck here? Why can I not? I'm applying to everywhere. I cannot figure it out. And I think I figured out why. It's because, and I read this in a book called Quitter by John Minkoff, it's because the effort that you're putting in your job where you're at is how your attitude is going to be with the job that you want to go towards. So let's say that you really want to be a photographer. I could not be a photographer. I like to be a photographer. I think it's important for digital photography because I like making videos, right? But I always have to refer to something online, Peter McKinnon or somebody else that I can find that actually has good photography experience that lets me take decent shots that are more than just, oh, I think this is pretty, But to do that, you have to first understand that, oh God, I forgot where I was going with this. You have to first understand that your job is important because you're going to treat that job like your future job. That's where I was. So, yeah, I'm not saying you be the type of person that you go and you say, yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, to everything, even though you should. You don't have to say it so robotically. But try to relearn the importance of people. Try to relearn the importance of liking other people. I'm a severely introverted person. The fact that I can only really talk to people through video should say something. But the reality is that there are a lot of people in this world that do not function with introverted people. And it's because I feel they don't understand us, which I'll get back to later. But my point is that you have to actually play the part that you're dealt for the thing that you want to have. You want to be a success at, I want to think of something severely arbitrary, but I can't even think of anything, but something really important. You want to be a success at sales. I work at an agency where we deal with sales all the time, but I'm a terrible people person. I really struggle with talking to people face to face. I really struggle with communicating with people because I'm an introvert. And I get my energy, I replenish my energy from resting, from not being with people, from collecting my thoughts, from some people call it meditation, some people call it prayer, I call it prayer. And they are able to rejuvenate themselves and re-inspire themselves and educate themselves to get back out there and do the things that they really want to do. But a lot of times introverts would rather avoid situations that they could potentially embarrass themselves in, which is not uncommon. A good example of that is I was at a party recently and I observed an action of somebody doing something that they thought was right, made all logical sense is right, but it's funny when you're nervous, you make a lapse in judgment. Basically what it was is that there was a fire pit that needed to be put out, and if you don't know what a fire pit is, it's like this little tiny, well, not tiny, it's like a little, like a campground fire, but it's contained inside this metal thing, and then you're supposed to let it burn out, and you toss sand on it. And the reason why you toss sand on it instead of pouring water on it is because it's in a metal container, so you put water on it, it's gonna rust. Well, the person was very adamant about getting the fire out because they were anxious to try to, help move along the party to the next thing, which was at that point, giving people coffee and saying go home. And they decided that it would be best to take a watering can and, water out the fire pit, right? So then after it was put out, the host of the party came out and was like, "What the heck did you just do? You ruined my fire pit." And I want to say there was two hosts, and one host had this problem. And it was a perfectly honest mistake. If you don't know that information, you don't know that. So you're going to make that mistake, but it's not the end of the world. But you feel so bad about it that you might never want to put yourself into that position again. And that's how an introvert is. We get embarrassed. It hurts us. There's like this, honestly, I don't know about most of you out there, but there's this like chemical reaction that happens that has to do with like the fight or flight mode. And you're like, oh man, I'm never going to do that again. I never want to go out to that situation. I never want to put myself in that situation again. But that's wrong. As hard as that is for us introverts to swallow, it is wrong, because what ends up happening, and I've seen the product of what happens when you allow yourself to think that you should not have to be put into those open situations with the extroverts. You have to put yourself into those situations because you know why? That's reality. That is reality. That's how reality works. That's how people function. And when you make a mistake, in that moment, you can learn how to not overreact to a mistake or how not to overreact to a situation. You can actually fix the situation simply by participating in it. And even if you don't know the answer, even if you don't like how you're feeling, just by watching it, staying quiet and observing it, you can actually help yourself learn how to accept the situation that's happening and grow from it, so that you're not afraid of it next time. But what happens to us introverts is that we're in the situation, something gets scary, and then we run for the hill. We want nothing to do with it anymore. But you know why extroverts are successful? Is because they like people, so they don't understand why people might be judging them, so because they like them, so they figure they might like them, right? It's like the same thing. It's like, I like this person even though I don't know him, and he probably likes me, so why would he be saying anything insulting? anything that could be interpreted as insulting, they don't understand. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it's almost like a dog in a way. The dog doesn't understand why you're mad at the dog. The dog just realizes, oh, I peed on the carpet and I should not pee inside anymore. Okay, I'm going back to, being happy-go-lucky. And that's some people. And that's not an insult. That's actually, to me, that's admirable. I look at those people, my brother's that way. I look at those people and I'm like, how are you doing the things that you're doing that you're able to just exist in this world full of criticism and ridicule and not have any personal drawbacks from that? How do you do that? And I have no idea. I still don't to this day, but I do know that if you don't put yourself into those situations, you will isolate yourself. And this is the part that I was talking about where I've seen the end result of it, because it's not me and I'm not there yet. And I don't think any of you are. And if you are, you can still change it. This is my point, is that I've met people that they become adults. They don't get married. They don't socialize. They have maybe a small group of friends, which is usually their cousins, their whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they've decided for themselves how the world works. And that's the most dangerous thing you can possibly do. Because when you don't involve yourself with other people, you become arrogant. Because you're in your own world and you're the ruler of that world. You're in control of that world. And you're scared to death of the world that you can't control, which is the reality, which is reality. Reality doesn't give you the opportunity to control it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be reality. Otherwise, everybody else would be in control. That's not how it works. Reality is not allowing yourself to become that person that decides the rules for yourself and then takes that decision out into the real world. And then when the world doesn't abide by your rules, you either have an anxiety attack, you freak out, or you start alienating yourself from really good people who are trying to help you. That's the most difficult thing to try to come to realize. Because introverts, correct me if I'm wrong out there, and if you're an introvert and you don't agree with me, please tell me in the comment section here. But we make our own rules. And the reason why we do that is because we overthink. We're inside our head. We're scared of the outside. We're scared of going into public areas all the time. So what do? We create our own rules based off of television, based off of videos on YouTube, based off of people's personalities. And isn't it funny that we'll see things on YouTube and we're like, oh, we could do that. Oh, I could do that better than him. Yet when it comes to the actual act of doing it, we're like, I don't want to do that. I can do it better than anybody else, but I don't want to. Isn't that weird? But the reason why is because that world that we're pitching ourselves into, we're advocating for ourselves into, we can't make the rules for it. And on some basic level, we know that, but the way we try to control the world is that we've decided how the world works. For example, when you get into your car and you're trying to put on your headphones, or you're going for a walk and you're trying to put on your headphones or something, and you walk out the door and the headphones get caught in the door and it pulls it out of your phone and your phone goes flying on the floor. Which, by the way, that's happened. To you, that should not have happened. You prepared for that. That's a rule you made up in your head. That should not have happened. So when it does happen, that's the universe out to get you. And you're worried that, oh, if I step out that door, forget it, I'm screwed. Instead, where you should just be like, doggone it, I can't believe that happened. Oh well, moving on. I'm not going to let that ruin my day. And it may seem like such a minor thing, but to a true anxiety-ridden introvert, that's a big deal, because it sets the tone for the rest of your day, for the rest of your plans. Because you planned it perfectly. You planned your world perfectly. So according to you, everything's fine. So the only way something could be going wrong is if the world is out to get you. And I honestly think that's how people fall into paranoia, is because they're so scared. I'm not a professional, by the way. This is just my opinion, speaking as an introvert. You're so scared that the world is out to get you because you've defined the world so perfectly, you actually believe your own definition of the world, when really your own definition of the world has nothing to do with reality. Nothing to do with reality. I live in El Paso, Texas. The center of reality. People here don't abide by nothing. The only thing is they somewhat drive decently. We somewhat have a decent like community togetherness and all this. But you can see when everybody's walking around, at least they're trying to help each other out to a certain extent. But for the most part, people are in their own world. They're existing in their own terms. They've already decided that the people that they see in the supermarket with them are annoying as heck, which I agree, they are annoying as heck. But the people that are being annoying to you, they have no idea that they're being annoying. You know why? Because they're in their own little world and they're happily exploring the world themselves. But when you disallow yourself to register the fact that the world exists differently than how you've perceived it, which, by the way, when you've decided how the world works and you made up your own little rules of perception of how everything else should work, that's arrogance and that's selfishness, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter if you don't want to call, I'm not selfish. I'm not arrogant. I'm a nice person. It doesn't matter. You're still wrong. You may not like wrong. You know that you're like self-centered and narcissistic. If you hear that I'm telling you that you're wrong and you feel bad about it, like, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. I don't know for sure, but that's definitely how it is with me. And it's kind of like you have to be able to accept the fact that the world operates very differently than how you perceived it. Nobody knows how the world operates. Even the smartest person in the world doesn't know how the world operates. They'll try and they'll give you a good opinion, but they're all the same mindset. Everybody in this world, everybody that's ever been born into this world has been given the same exact mind, and everybody is on equal terms. And then from there, they went up. But they give you the illusion that education or job position somehow makes you better or worse. It doesn't. What it really comes down to is experience. What have you experienced this world? And usually the more experienced people tend to be the more successful people. If you don't believe me, you know that a couple of years ago, there was tons of stories about people who had college degrees, but they could not get a job. Why? They don't have experience. And then you have all the new people coming out saying, well, how am I supposed to get experience if nobody will hire me? Well, I don't know. But that's the reality of it, because what people truly value is experience. The people who make the most money. The top executives, everything. Amazon, Microsoft, Warner Brothers, all these people. Are they looking for the person that just got a 4 years master and all that? Maybe at an entry-level position. But what they're looking for is the person with the experience in the field, because they're going to invest their money. They don't pay money. They don't pay payroll. They invest in you and the things you do based off of your experience. So how do you get that experience? You exist out of your bubble, out of your rules of how you perceive the world. You go out into the reality and you experience reality as it is. And then maybe you can make rules for how you choose to handle the world, right? I can decide how I'm going to react to a negative situation, a positive, a sad, a weird, an awkward situation, so that I can kind of protect myself and kind of protect my introvertness. But you can't change how the world should have treated you, should have reacted, because it's already at random. It's a variable. You can't control that. It seems like a lot of information, and I feel like I went way off tangent from where this started. This was never meant to be a realization help type podcast today. This was honestly just to test out my brand new camera, which I like very much. I think it's kind of cool. What do you guys think? But you have to allow yourself to be wrong, and you have to allow yourself to be wrong a lot, and you have to allow yourself to want to learn a lot. We don't like being told that we're wrong. Introverts don't like being told that they're wrong. We know what we do. I'm going to give away our secret, introverts. I'm really sorry. People will talk to us and we'll tell them what they want to hear. So what? They go away. And once they go away, forget about what they said. But that's the wrong answer, introverts. What we're supposed to be doing is taking whatever information that there actually could be right on and keeping it, analyzing it. You overthink things? Analyze that. Analyze the things that other people say. I'm not saying always listen to other people. You know right out when somebody's telling you something crap or they're just being overly friendly. But when you have a genuine friend, family member, co-worker that's trying to help you, give them the time of day to just kind of listen to them, They're being generous with their time and information. Now, I'm not talking about the overtalkers. Oh my gosh, I can't stand the overtalkers. The overtalkers are what I used to refer to as the competers in the office for who's the most sick. I think that's another podcast I did recently. But it's giving yourself the opportunity to learn new things about how the world works, so that when you are afraid that you're not going to exist in their world, that you have at least the desire to try. Because the people who do not have the desire to try, they end up alone, but don't want to be lonely. And that's a weird concept to try to explain to people. You want to be alone, but you don't want to be lonely. We want to be alone because we don't like the chaos that is the outside of the world, that tells us all this input of information that we're just trying to keep and compartmentalize and make sense of, and like a formula. But that's what ends up happening to us. We get freaked out and we don't want that experience, so then we shy away from it. But that's the wrong answer. I think the better thing to do is to make a plan that you're going to allow a certain amount of stuff in your circumference of, I hate to say a bad word here, but give a shit. And after your allotment of that has been depleted, then it's okay to be an introvert and go into your time. And I think it's severely important for an introvert to have their own time. I really do. They need at least once in a week. It's kind of very selfish, especially for those of us that are parents. But I believe it's true. And it actually makes you a better person. You need at least one day a week where it's 100% just you by yourself doing absolutely nothing but thinking. Because thinking is a lot like a muscle. You got to wear it out to exhaustion. And once it's worn out, then you come back at it with all these ideas. But you need at least that one day to say, everything shut off and leave me alone. And you meditate, you pray, you plan projects, you do whatever you want to do. And that's, I feel, the difference that could make in the lives of introverts. All right, well, this podcast has pretty much gone on for a lot longer than I thought it was. I really appreciate you guys giving into this dramatic thing. I promise you, this wasn't something that I planned to do right off the bat. I'm using sunlight, for God's sake. I didn't even have a chance to set up my lighting. I just figured that it'd be important to say something, and all this just came out. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around. Please consider subscribing to the Jackass Express podcast. We're very excited to be doing new things. As you can see, we made some improvements here, and we're just trying to do more of that. We got more things in the work. There's more exciting news to come. And this is just one small bit of our improvement. God willing, the audio works on my Rode Mic Pro Plus, which, thank you very much. It's an awesome gift. Okay, take care of yourself. Farewell!